Welcome to Level 12.
We want to share some tips with you to take full advantage of this course. Your material consists of the workbook, which you will use for some in-class activities and for homework, and these audio files. Teachers answer specific questions about the homework, but they don't check homework in class. To check your homework, click or tap the icon next to the title of each practice. At Interlingua, we use the following grades to evaluate your oral progress. 10, very good, 9, good, 7, minimum, and 5, not passing. Throughout the course, we talk to you about your oral progress, and at the end of the course, we will talk to you individually about your final oral grade. To pass the course, you need to get at least 70 points on the written exam and a 7 or higher for an oral grade. Remember that it's also important to speak with fluency, use new vocabulary, and to integrate previously learned materials. If you have any questions, problems, or recommendations, you can ask your teacher or your coordinator.
Unit 1, Activity 4.
Welcome to this week's edition of The People's Voice. I'm Dakota Hutby, and I'm here in Central Park to find out what people think about global warming. Global warming is a growing concern for many people, while others say that it's nothing more than a myth. Advocates say that rising global and ocean temperatures, loss of glaciers, and rising sea levels are evidence of global warming. However, skeptics dispute this evidence and argue that scientific studies have been manipulated for political interests. They also believe that the evidence presented doesn't really prove anything other than Earth is going through a natural climate change. Global warming, does it really exist? Let's see what the people of New York have to say about it. Excuse me, ma'am, what are your thoughts on global warming?
I didn't like it. It was a terrible movie.
Actually, I was referring to the rising temperature of our planet. Is the Earth getting hotter, and do you think we're the cause of it?
Oh, well, I think we should be worried.
Why do you say that?
Because it's hot today, so I think the globe must be getting hotter. Oh, and I love penguins. They're my favorite animals, and I think we need to be worried about them, or else their habitat could be destroyed in the future.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Let's see what someone else thinks about global warming. Let's ask this street vendor over here. Hi, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks. Can I offer you a delicious pretzel for $2?
Thanks, but I already ate. Actually, I'm talking to people to see what they think about global warming. Do you think it's something we need to be worried about?
Definitely. Have you heard of all the studies that NASA has done? They were just talking about it on the news the other day. According to the results of their studies, sea levels have risen more than 6 inches in the last century. Global temperatures have also risen since the Industrial Revolution. Clearly, people are contributing to global warming. If we don't do something soon, we'll lose all of our glaciers. Sea levels will rise and we'll experience more violent storms. People need to wake up and smell the coffee. I sell coffee as well. Can I offer you a hot coffee?
No, thank you. I appreciate you sharing your views with us today. Have a good day. Okay, let's see who else we can interview. Oh, look, there's a gentleman right over there. Let's talk to him. Hi, I'm talking to people today to see what they think about global warming. What are your thoughts on the subject?
Throughout history, the Earth has gone through different climate changes, but I don't think they are because of us humans. They just happen naturally over time. Humans were around during the last ice age, and I seriously doubt cavemen were the cause of ending it. Temperatures seem to be rising, but I don't think we need to be worried. All this global warming talk is a big scam started by politicians, so people can keep their jobs and make more money.
Thank you, sir. Well, there you have it, straight from the mouths of New Yorkers. It seems that we're no closer to coming to an agreement on the topic of global warming. Thanks for tuning in to this week's segment of The People's Voice. See you next week.
Unit 1, Activity 5, Global what?
Have you ever heard of global warming before? It's the rise in global surface temperatures due to increased greenhouse gases, water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and ozone. These gases are part of a process called the greenhouse effect. Basically, these gases help keep our planet warm by absorbing and emitting radiation. Without this process, our planet would be a lot colder, and life would be very different from what we know today. Many scientists and respected scientific organizations around the world believe we are headed for disaster because of the increase of CO2, carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. They believe that the increase in CO2 is because humans burn fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, and natural gas, causing the greenhouse effect to be stronger. The result is global warming. Are humans responsible for it, or are the warming patterns recently experienced natural phenomena? Let's take a moment to look at some information given by both advocates and skeptics of global warming.
Unit 1, Practice 3, Global warming, true or false?
Have you seen the news lately, Dave? All they talk about on the news are the horrible problems with drought, flooding, hurricanes, and wildfires.
I know. Can you believe that some people think that global warming isn't real?
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm serious. I was talking about this with my family last weekend, and my brother Bill said that it's all a hoax. He said that climate has always changed, that that's just the way the Earth is.
I agree. Climate always changes. But what about the fact that it's now much warmer than it used to be? Just look at the polar bears. There isn't enough ice anymore for them to survive. Also, look at all the places that are going through droughts, or look at the massive hurricanes that have happened recently. And what about the fact that so many deserts are getting larger?
I agree with you, but Bill said that they have measured the Earth's temperature via satellites, that the temperature has remained almost the same for the last 40 years. Besides, he says that if the Earth weren't warmed by the greenhouse effect, we'd all be dead because the average temperature on Earth would be minus 180 degrees Celsius. Also, he said that meteorological experts have said that all the storms we've experienced are part of a normal variation in climate, nothing out of the ordinary.
And do you believe him?
I don't know. Some of what he says makes sense. But what if he's wrong and we're doing irreparable damage to the Earth? Where would people live if we destroyed our planet?
I agree. Even if what he says is right, it can't hurt to be more environmentally conscious, can it?
Right. If we're careful not to increase global warming by using fewer fossil fuels, it can only help.
Exactly. That's why I recycle, use my bike, walk when I can, and do as much as I can to not harm the environment.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one.
Unit 1, Activity 6. Example.
This means to spend less. For example, you can energy if you buy a more efficient car. Another example, if you drove less and walked more, you could money on gas. The word is save. To save is to spend less. You circle the word save.
1.
This means going to, be sure to, be certain to. For example, Louis is tall and he's only 14. He is grow even taller. Another example. In Mexico, it is rain in July.
2.
This means to make something smaller in number or size. For example, the government has designed new laws to pollution levels in the cities. Another example, School programs plan to bowling.
3.
This means to go up, to increase in amount or number. For example, temperatures 10 to 20% during the summer. Another example, the population will for the next 20 years at least.
4.
This means to damage or hurt someone or something. For example, sunscreens work because they absorb or reflect UV rays before they and damage the skin. Another example, some chemicals we throw away can the environment.
5.
This means to make something happen or to make something exist. For example, an earthquake can great damage to buildings. Another example, viruses often illnesses.
Unit 1. Activity 7.
Morning, Grant.
Good morning, Phil. It's good to see you in the office again. Hey, how was your vacation, buddy? You just got back from where was it again that you and your wife went?
Kenya.
Kenya. Now, why in the world would you go to a place like Kenya?
Are you kidding me? Kenya is one of the world's top destinations for ecotourism.
Eco what?
Ecotourism. You know, when you go on vacation to get up close with nature.
Well, I usually just go to the beach on vacation.
Well, that could be considered as a form of ecotourism, although I imagine a lot of people feel like me. I mean, I get bored going to the same typical places that everyone else goes. I need excitement. I want to visit exotic, wild, and possibly dangerous places.
So, what did you guys do in Kenya?
Well, we got to go on a safari adventure, and we saw lions, elephants, giraffes, and a bunch of other animals. We saw Mount Kilimanjaro, and we visited a local tribe.
Wow, sounds interesting.
We've also been to Palau.
Palau?
Yeah, Palau is an island in the Pacific Ocean. Val and I went there for our anniversary 3 years ago. It's paradise there, man. We mostly relaxed, but we also did a lot of snorkeling. We went kayaking to some smaller islands nearby, and we went swimming practically every day.
Sounds nice.
And for my birthday 2 years ago, Val took me to Norway.
Isn't it really cold there?
Yeah, but there are tons of things to do there. We took a cruise through the fjords, we saw the northern lights, and we went mountain climbing. And for spring break last year, Val and I decided to go surfing in Costa Rica. While we were there, we got to visit some parks and we went horseback riding on the beach.
Well, if you can afford to go and do those things, I bet it's awesome.
Well, my wife and I save a little here, a little there, and at the end of the year, we always make sure to go on an adventure. If we didn't work hard and save money all year, we wouldn't be able to travel.
I guess you're right. You know, if my wife and I hadn't spent so much money last year, we could have taken a trip somewhere nice. And if I had taken my family on vacation this summer, my wife and kids would probably be in a better mood. They've all been stressed out lately.
You bet. There is nothing better for stress than taking an eco-friendly vacation and relaxing somewhere nice. I'm sure if you start saving up now, you would be able to take your family on vacation next summer. I highly recommend it. Hey, I know. If you like, I could help you out by suggesting a travel agency that Val and I have used. Come on, what do you say?
All right, but I'm letting you know now that I don't like.
Unit 1. Activity 9.
Thank God we're back at the hotel. I don't like kayaking and I don't like fishing. It's not fair.
Now, honey, your dad worked really hard to take us on vacation. You know, this is the first time we've been able to take a nice vacation. Your dad loves the outdoors, and he's having the time of his life on this trip. Did you see his face when we saw the northern lights last night? He's really having a great time.
Yeah, that is such a nerd. I wish we had just stayed home.
But if we had stayed home, you would have been complaining that we never take you anywhere.
If we had stayed home, at least I would have been able to hang out with my friends. This isn't a vacation, this is punishment. Who goes on vacation to Norway anyway? I mean, it's cold here and no one speaks English. We should be someplace warm and exotic, not cold and snowy.
I know you're upset because you miss your friends, but before you know it, you're going to be all grown up with your own nagging kids without any time to go on vacation with your family. If you would just try and make the best of this trip, you would be having a better time.
But there's nothing for me to do here. Just boring stuff for old people like you and Dad.
Oh, really? Did you know there's a spa downstairs?
Really? There's a spa? And, we could go there, right?
If your dad is out fishing by himself right now, I don't see why we can't go to the spa. Just us girls.
Really?
Sure, why not? Let's get ready to go then.
Unit 1, Practice 6. What a vacation.
Hey Marcy, how was your vacation?
Awful.
Why? You had been really looking forward to it.
I know. I wanted a relaxing, fun vacation, but it was everything but relaxing.
Well, where did you go?
To Cancun.
I thought Cancun was a beautiful place for a vacation.
Maybe, but it was spring break and there were thousands of teenagers there. They were noisy and the pool was always full. They always had loud music on, and of course, they were always drinking.
I see. You should have gone somewhere else.
I know. If I'd known there were going to be a bunch of spring breakers in Cancun, I would have stayed home.
That's too bad.
Oh well, maybe my next vacation will be better. By the way, you were on vacation too, weren't you?
Yes.
So, where did you go?
We went to a place called Rancho Encantado. It was incredible.
Where is that?
In Quintana Roo, near Chetumal. We stayed in a private cottage surrounded by trees close to the lagoon. From the room, you could see and hear tropical birds, and the flowers and plants were incredible.
That sounds like my kind of vacation.
One day, we took a guided trip to some newly excavated Mayan ruins. It was really awesome. We were seeing things that had been hidden in the jungle for hundreds of years.
I should have taken my vacation there. I would have been much happier. What else can you do there?
Well, we went kayaking a couple of times, and we went swimming almost every day. They have a great spa, and we had a massage by the water. If you want a relaxing vacation in an eco-friendly environment, I highly recommend Rancho Encantado.
That's what I wanted for my vacation. If I'd gone there, I would have rested and relaxed. And I wouldn't have come back to work more stressed out than when I left.
Well, I can give you the information. Maybe you want to try it on your next vacation.
Thanks, I think I will.
Unit 2, Practice 2, a school project.
I hate doing projects for school.
I know, Marcus. Me too, but what can we do? Let's get organized. We have to talk about how to make our homes greener. So, how should we divide the work?
Why don't we divide it into 3 areas? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Like the slogan?
I like that idea, Judy. What do the rest of you think?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay then, what should each of us work on?
I'll investigate what things can be done to reduce the use of electricity and water at home. I'll check out some of the websites that the teacher recommended, and I'll go to the Environmental Protection Agency's office to see if I can get some information there.
That sounds okay. I'll research into what things can be reused or recycled in the home. I'll also try to find out how many people in our city recycle and what kinds of things can be reused. Maybe we can start a recycling station here at school.
That's a good idea, Marcus. Now, what should I do then?
Sean, that's easy. You know a lot about videos and are good at making them. Why don't you look for videos related to the topic, and maybe you can do some man-on-the-street videos asking people what they do or what they think they should do to make their homes greener?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll talk to my family and some of our neighbors. I can even go to the mall and try to talk to some of the people there.
That sounds like a good idea. Now, what will I do?
Aaron, that's easy. You'll be responsible for putting it all together in a presentation. You're so creative and artistic. You're the best person to make it all look spectacular. Maybe you can make some posters too.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Then everyone knows what to do. Remember to upload everything so we can all see it. How about we meet online on Thursday at 5 so we can go over what we have so far? Everyone can upload what they've been working on and we can have a video conference to discuss it.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Unit 2, Activity 5.
Thank you for tuning in to KMZ AM. I'm Clark Madison, and on this morning's segment of Agriculture Tidbits, we're going to be talking about the future of farming. Farmers today are looking to the future in order to better prepare themselves for what's to come. Here in the studio with us today is Dr. Reynolds, President of the Association of Farmers in America. He'll be talking to us and sharing some of his insight on what farming will be like in the future. Thank you for being here, Dr. Reynolds.
Well, thank you for having me, Clark.
Dr. Reynolds, can you talk to us about some of the major changes we'll see in the future of farming?
Sure. Well, as you know, our world's population is growing fast. Experts predict that we'll need to produce 70% more food in order to keep up with demand. How will farmers be able to keep up? Well, the answer is that farmers will be implementing technology and society will have to make some big changes.
Can you talk to us about how technology will play a role in the future of farming?
Well, the truth is, farmers have been resistant to accepting technological advances due to cost and traditional methods of farming. But pretty soon, there won't be enough people to do the work, and they'll have to give in. Some farms have already been using robots for a while now, but eventually all farmers will be using them. Robots will be used to milk cows, inspect fields for disease, spray infected areas rather than entire fields, weed undesirable plants, pick crops. The list goes on and on. Another big change that is headed our way is genetically modified animals. Actually, crops have already been genetically modified to delay ripening, to be resistant to diseases, and to enhance taste. But the use of genetically modified animals has not been approved yet. It's just not socially acceptable at this time. Eventually, society will have to come around to the idea if we want to continue having enough dairy, eggs, and meat to feed the entire population.
Wow, robots, genetically modified animals? Those are some pretty interesting concepts. I wonder how long it will take for us to come around to those ideas.
You'd be surprised at the number of things people can get used to when they're starving to death.
I bet. Now, I'm sure you've heard about climate change, drought, and soil depletion. What do you think about these topics?
Well, those are things we definitely need to be prepared for. If farms are affected by climate change or soil depletion, many people will be moving from rural areas to big cities to find food. Big cities will have more access to food, but they'll still have the problem of feeding so many mouths. A solution to this will be urban farming. This too has already been put into use in some cities, but it will become more and more common. People will be using any available space for farming: rooftops, balconies, window ledges, empty lots, etc. Cities will look very different from what they look like today.
Actually, I've heard of urban farming before, but I've never actually seen it with my own eyes. Well, let's take a break and hear a word from our sponsors. When we get back, we'll continue talking about urban farming with Dr. Reynolds. Stay tuned. KMZ AM.
Unit 2, Practice 3, Apartment Gardening.
Hi, Jenny. What are you doing?
Oh, hi, Sam. I'm planting a vegetable garden on my balcony.
Why? You can buy all the vegetables you need at the store. You don't have to plant your own.
I know that, but the vegetables you can eat from your own garden are much better. They taste better, they're fresher, and cheaper, too. Besides, when you grow your own, you don't have to worry about any chemicals or pesticides.
But you don't have a lot of space. You won't be able to grow very much.
You'd be surprised. My balcony is 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. I have plenty of space. I have 5 pots here where I'll be growing basil, cilantro, oregano, parsley, and rosemary. In that planter over there, I'll have tomatoes, green peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, and 2 kinds of chili peppers. And in this hanging pot, I'll grow strawberries.
Okay, but you won't get very much food from the pots. And look at all the money you're investing to get this started.
I spent some money on that planter, but I already have the pots. Other than that, I've had to buy soil to put the plants in, some fertilizer, and seeds. I've really spent very little money. Wait and see. In about 3 months, I'll have so much food that I'll be able to sell some to my friends.
Well, if you really get enough food from this garden, I'll buy some for you, okay?
Great!
Unit 2, Activity 7, Work, Looking into the Future.
How is the world changing when it comes to work? Will offices become obsolete in the future? Where will people work? How will they work? Who will be working? These are very interesting questions. Let's look at some future trends. Where will people work? The trend in the last decades has been for more and more people to not work from offices. Most work that is done these days requires a computer, an internet connection, and not much more. This allows people to work from remote locations rather than having to work from a centrally located office. There are benefits to both the employee and the company. The employee doesn't have to commute to work every day, which saves him money and time. The company also benefits because they don't need to spend as much on office space and utilities. What changes will the increased use of technology bring? As mentioned earlier, the internet and cloud computing will be central to jobs. It's estimated that in the future, employees will decide which device or devices they want to use at work. Companies won't give a standard computer or phone to employees, but people will bring their own devices to work. Since prices for computers and phones continue to decrease, people will be able to use the devices that work best for them. What will the future workforce look like? It's believed that robots and technology will replace most non-skilled workers, and there will be a much greater need for skilled workers. This may cause a lack of highly skilled workers everywhere. It will be harder and harder to find people to fill jobs that are more and more complex. For this reason, there is bound to be an increase in migration, an increase in the number of women in the workforce, and an increase in older workers over 65 years of age. What will be the result of an aging population? Nowadays, families have fewer children than in the past. As young people enter the workforce, they don't compensate for the number of older workers that will be retiring. Millions of older people will require health care, which is a huge cost for governments. In addition, there will be a large increase in the need for health care workers for these retired people. This will mean that countries like the US, Japan, Italy, and Germany will need to increasingly depend on immigrant workers. What will future workers be like? There seem to be several trends. First of all, the workforce will be much more ethnically diverse as a result of migration. In addition, the future workforce will depend much more on temporary and part-time workers. People will be moving from job to job rather than staying in one company for most of their lives. Finally, future workers will be looking for meaningful jobs where they will be able to make a valuable contribution to the community.
Unit 3, Practice 2, the 1985 earthquake.
One of the most important events in my life was the 1985 earthquake in Mexico City. I'm originally from Canada, but I was living in Mexico City while I was working for an international company. I was taking a shower when the earthquake hit. It was horrible. After the earthquake stopped, I got out of the shower, got ready for work, and left the house. I was living near downtown at the time, and everywhere I looked there were buildings damaged or destroyed. I felt like I had been in a war. When I got to the office, everyone was standing outside because the building was too damaged to go inside. It was then that I realized how bad it had been, and I started to worry. I tried to find a phone to call my girlfriend, but the phones weren't working, so I decided to go to her house. She was living in Tlatelolco at the time, and when I got there, I saw that the building had fallen down. I believed then that she and her family had died in the earthquake. It was devastating. After about a week, I finally got confirmation that she was alive, but injured. However, everyone else in her family had died. It was then that I decided that we needed to get married. I didn't want to lose her. A few weeks later, we left Mexico and moved to Canada. We've now been living here for many years. We're very sad about what happened in Mexico, but I'm so happy that she survived the earthquake and that I didn't lose the love of my life.
Unit 3, Activity 6.
And today, we're counting down the 5 most important discoveries that changed the world as we know it. So let's start with number 5. Number 5 is the discovery of gunpowder. Gunpowder, which is a dry explosive substance that can be used in guns, is thought to have been discovered by the Chinese hundreds of years ago. Gunpowder allowed people to change their environment. It changed how wars were fought and how people hunted. Gunpowder has caused millions of deaths over the years, but it has also helped us tremendously. Number 4 is the discovery of gravity by Isaac Newton. Newton discovered that every object has a force that draws it toward other objects, and that force is gravity. This discovery helped explain why things fall to the earth rather than float away. It also explained why the moon orbits the earth and the planets orbit the sun. Now, to number 3 on our list, the discovery that the earth is round. While this seems obvious to us today, a few hundred years ago, people still believed that if you traveled too far by ship, you would fall off the edge of the earth. This discovery led to a lot more trade and to the discovery or conquest of new lands like the Americas. Now, number 2 on our list is the wheel. It's impossible to say by who or when exactly it was discovered, but it is one of the things that changed civilization forever. With wheels, people were able to travel and to move things over long distances. Without wheels, man would have stayed very close to home, and very little of what we know today would have been discovered. Now, what do you think number 1 is? That's right, fire. Fire changed how man interacted with his environment. He was able to cook food, keep warm, and later this led to the ability to melt metals and make tools and weapons. So what do you think? Do you agree with our list? Let us know at www.discoveriesthatImpact.com.
Unit 3, Practice 3, Plastics and Our World.
I think that one of the greatest discoveries was plastic. I can't imagine life without it. I'm sitting here in my office and almost everything I can see around me is made of plastic. My water bottle, a large part of my computer, my glasses, my cell phone, my pen, my calculator, parts of the chair I'm sitting on, my telephone, etc. You can see plastic everywhere. I know that plastics have made our lives much easier and convenient. But there are many disadvantages to plastics, the first being pollution. I was reading last week about these massive areas of garbage floating in the oceans of the world. There are 5 areas that they call trash vortices. These are huge areas of trash, mostly plastics, that are floating on the ocean and that kill marine animals. You would think that it wouldn't be that hard to clean up, but the truth is, it would be very difficult. A lot of the pieces of plastic are very small, so they would have to use nets that are very fine to pick up the trash. But then the same nets would also pick up ocean creatures. And the size of each trash vortex would make it almost impossible. They calculate that it would take almost 70 huge ships a complete year to clean up just 1% of the trash vortex in the North Pacific Ocean. So what should we do? I think we have to start by making sure that no more plastic goes into the water. Don't throw trash in the streets where it can go into the sewers and drainage systems and then get into the oceans. Also, don't throw away plastic. Recycle it and reuse it. If everyone did that, it would help reduce the huge amount of garbage in the oceans. Start today.
Unit 4, Activity 2.
My name is Sayuri and I live in Tokyo, Japan. When I was growing up, I lived in a house with my extended family, my parents, grandparents, an aunt and uncle, and my brother. My grandfather had a business and he took care of everyone in the family. He taught my father all about the business so that he could take over when my grandfather retired. Everyone in the family worked and we helped each other to make the family better. When my grandfather retired, my father took over the family business and he was then responsible for the whole family. My father took care of my parents and aunt and uncle for the rest of their lives. I got married when I was 23. My parents arranged my marriage to my husband. When we got married, I didn't really know my husband at all, but my family and his family considered our match to be perfect. Once we got married, I went to live with my husband's family. We had children, and I was responsible for taking care of them. When my husband's parents got old, my husband and our family took care of them. Nowadays, it's different. My granddaughter Fumiko is married, but she chose her husband. We didn't arrange her marriage. Fumiko and her husband live in a small apartment with their 2 children, but no other family members. Fumiko's husband works very long hours at the office and his family almost never sees him except on Sundays. Fumiko is responsible for everything to do with the children, their education, their activities, and their well-being. Fumiko is also responsible for all the economic decisions of the family. Her husband gives her his salary and she decides how to use the money.
My name is Ravi and I'm from Agra, India. I live in a large house with my extended family. My wife, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. There are many people around all the time and we share everything. We eat together, live together, share property and income. We take care of our elderly relatives, or those that are unable to work. My grandfather, who is the oldest male, is the head of the family even though he's now retired. We always consult my grandfather when there are important decisions to be made. In our culture, boys have always been raised to be independent, assertive, and domineering, while girls are raised to be nurturing, submissive, and religious, and they are taught to value the family over everything else. Most marriages are still arranged in India, and my parents arranged my marriage when I was just 15 and my future wife was 12. When we actually got married, I was 20 and my wife was 17. It was a very big wedding with everyone in our families attending. After we got married, my wife came to live in my house. We have 4 children and now we have 5 grandchildren. Our daughters are not married yet, but we have already arranged their marriages. One will be getting married next year and the other is only 16 and she'll get married when she turns 18. Both of my sons are married. One of them lives with us, but our other son, Ramesh, has moved out of the family home. Both he and his wife are doctors, and they work in the same hospital. This is not traditional, so I guess you can say that some things are changing in our society a little. He lives in his own home with his wife and their 2 children, but he lives very close to us and comes here very frequently.
Unit 4. Activity 4.
I'm Canadian, and my husband's family is from China. My husband was raised in the States, but his parents weren't. So, when we decided to get married, I learned a little bit more about his family's culture. Before we could even get officially engaged, his parents insisted on going to a fortune teller. I asked my husband if it was really necessary, and he said that his parents believed that a fortune teller could tell him how successful of a bride I would be, and she could recommend the best date to have the wedding. In Chinese culture, some days are luckier than others, and choosing the right day to get married is a very important decision. I didn't like the idea, but my husband told me to go along with my future in-laws and agreed to see a fortune teller. Luckily, the fortune teller said that I would be a good wife and have a lot of babies. She also recommended that we get married right after the Chinese New Year. He said that by respecting his family's traditions, we would be strengthening our family bonds, and that would help our marriage be more successful. I love my husband very much, and even though I didn't feel comfortable with going to a fortune teller, I did it to please him. In the end, everything went perfectly. And now, I'm very close to my in-laws despite having very different beliefs.
I've been a nurse for about 10 years now. And during my time at the hospital, I've met people from different backgrounds who have very different opinions about healthcare. For example, I once was caring for a kid with cancer. The doctors wanted to give him chemotherapy, but his family refused. His parents told us that they were Christian Scientists and that they didn't believe in medicine or going to doctors. The only reason the kid had come to the hospital was because his grandparents got involved and brought him there. The day after meeting the kid, I went into work and he was gone. I asked what had happened to him and was told that he had been transferred to another hospital. I never saw him again. Another time, I met a patient that needed an operation. The doctors told her that she would need a blood transfusion, but she refused because she said it was against her religion since she was a Jehovah's Witness. Before the surgery, the doctors asked her to sign a form releasing them from responsibility if something happened. The surgery was a success, but it was very risky and stressful for everyone involved. Being a nurse was hard in the beginning, but I've learned to respect others' beliefs when it comes to decisions related to their health care.
Unit 4. Activity 4 for juniors.
My husband's a businessman, and I'm a stay-at-home wife. I don't get out much, but I do my best to keep busy and have a social life. My favorite pastime is cooking. I just love preparing gourmet meals and hosting get-togethers. During my years of cooking and having people over for dinner, I have learned that you have to be careful with what you serve your guests. I learned that the hard way. I once had some of my husband's business clients over for dinner, and I had prepared pan-seared pork tenderloins with a blue cheese and olive stuffing. I was so looking forward to serving my guests dinner, but I soon realized that something was wrong when they weren't touching their food. They said they weren't hungry. Later that night, after they had left, my husband asked me if I was crazy. That's when he told me that his friends were Jewish and that they don't eat pork. You can imagine how horrified I was by my actions. I told my husband he should have let me know before inviting them over for dinner. Since then, I haven't had any unfortunate events.
Unit 4. Practice 3. An unusual party.
Hey, Mom.
How was the party, sweetie?
It was fun. Different, but fun.
That's good, but why do you say it was different?
Remember how I told you that the party was for Rocio's 15th birthday?
Yeah?
Well, Rocio's family is from Mexico, and her birthday party was actually a quince años party.
A quince what?
A quince años.
And what kind of party is that?
Well, in Rocio's culture, turning 15 is an important moment in a girl's life. Rocio told me that Mexican families have huge parties to celebrate their daughters turning into women. She said that her family had been saving money for years for this party.
So, how do they celebrate?
Well, first we went to mass and everyone was dressed very nicely. Oh, there was a court of boys in tuxedos to accompany Rocio.
Sounds fancy.
It was.
So, what did you guys do after Mass?
We went to a reception hall, and that's where the actual party took place. As soon as we got there, we sat down to have dinner. Everything was catered, and there were waiters to serve food and drinks. After dinner, Rocio's family had a special toast in her honor.
So you were drinking wine?
No, calm down, Mom. It was just apple cider.
Ah, okay. So what happened after the toast?
Rocio's family gave her a doll.
Like a Barbie doll?
Actually, it was a porcelain doll. One of Rocio's relatives told me that this was supposed to represent the last doll she will ever receive since she was turning into a woman. Then one of the boys in her court brought her some flowers. I asked if there was a special reason for the flowers, and Rocio's aunt explained that the flowers signified the first time Rocio would be given flowers by a boy. Rocio's dad and godfather gave really touching speeches. They talked about Rocio and what she was like when she was younger. Rocio's dad told everyone how proud he was of her, and that even though she was turning into a woman, she would always be his little girl.
That's sweet.
Then there was a waltz, and Rocio danced with her father and different family members. She also danced with all the boys in her court. After the waltz, the boys in her court did some choreographed dances with Rocio and some other girls. The dances looked really cool. Someone mentioned that they had been rehearsing the dances for months before the party. And finally, that's when everyone started dancing.
Everyone?
Yeah, everyone. I told Rocio's family that I don't dance, but they said they didn't care, and that I was going to have fun and dance. We spent the rest of the night dancing, laughing and eating more food. It was a lot of fun. I thought the party was a little strange at first, but to be honest, I had a great time. Rocio's family was really nice. They even told me I was welcome to come and visit them whenever I like.
Aw, that's great, honey. Rocio's family seem like nice people.
They are. I look forward to going to another party with Rocio's family.
Unit 4, Activity 9.
Hi, John. How was your weekend?
It was fun. I went to San Hipólito to see the St. Jude Festival.
The what?
Yesterday was October 28th, San Judas Tadeo.
Oh, yes. I know that many people believe in San Juditas.
Right. He's the patron saint of impossible causes. Anyway, there was this enormous celebration at the church of San Hipólito downtown. Haven't you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
Here, look at these pictures on my phone. Look at all these people carrying their statues of St. Jude. How crazy is that?
Wow, I had never seen or even heard of this celebration. Why are they carrying that statue?
I don't really know. Maybe they were having it blessed at the church. There's also a huge market where you can buy the statues and t-shirts and souvenirs, all with pictures of San Judas. And look at these kids dressed up like San Juditas. Can you believe it?
They're cute. So, the saint's colors are green and yellow, like your bracelets.
Yes, I bought some. I got you a bracelet too, for your protection.
Thanks. So now I'm not an impossible cause anymore?
Unit 4, Practice 6, Thanksgiving.
What is your favorite holiday?
I think that would be Thanksgiving.
Really? Why?
I have wonderful memories of Thanksgiving. It was a time when all the family would gather together and the food was always great.
What food did you normally eat?
Well, there was always a turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and gravy. My mother always made green beans and a salad too. My Aunt Christine was responsible for the pies. She used to make a couple of traditional pumpkin pies, a cherry pie for my grandfather, and of course, an apple pie too.
That sounds like a lot of food.
It was. The smell of turkey roasting always takes me back to Thanksgiving celebrations from my childhood.
And do you still celebrate Thanksgiving the same way?
Yes and no. The family always gets together, but it's sometimes hard because my children live in other parts of the country, and they have to travel to get home for the holiday.
And do you still eat the same food?
Of course. It wouldn't be Thanksgiving without the same traditional foods.
And what's the origin of the holiday?
Thanksgiving was originally celebrated to give thanks for the harvest. You see, in the fall, farmers collect the crops, corn, wheat, barley, etc., in preparation for the winter. So, it was customary for people to have a feast to thank God for the harvest.
So it's a religious holiday.
Sort of. You don't have to belong to a specific religion to celebrate Thanksgiving. It's really a time to be thankful to whatever God you believe in, for everything you have.
I see. And when is Thanksgiving celebrated?
In the U.S., we celebrate it on the fourth Thursday of November. People normally have that whole weekend off work, so it's a 4-day holiday.
That sounds nice.
It is. I love Thanksgiving and look forward to it every year.
Unit 5, Practice 2. To vaccinate or not to vaccinate.
Have you heard the debate in the news about whether to vaccinate kids or not?
A little bit. What have you heard?
Some people are saying that we shouldn't vaccinate kids for things like measles, German measles, whooping cough, and chickenpox. Are they crazy?
Well, I kind of agree.
Really? Why?
There are some doctors that have said that some of these vaccinations can cause children to be autistic.
That's not true. They've done many studies and they've concluded that vaccination don't cause autism.
Well, I don't know. What if it's true?
I think you should be more worried about your kids getting measles or something worse. Some children die from the measles, influenza, and whooping cough. I'd be more worried about that.
Maybe, but things like chickenpox and the mumps don't kill kids, so why do they need a vaccination for them?
Maybe they don't. But did you know that the mumps can cause boys who have already gone through puberty to become infertile? They'd never be able to have their own children.
I didn't know that.
All of this really scares me. By not vaccinating their children, some people are putting all of our children at risk. What if one of those kids who didn't get a vaccination gets sick and infects my children? Nobody enjoys taking their kids for shots, but I'm more afraid of them dying if they don't get their vaccinations.
Maybe you're right. I'm going to see what I can find out on the internet, and I'm planning on visiting my doctor to find out more.
That's a good idea.
Unit 5, Activity 6. Speaker 1.
I hate my job and my boss is a total idiot. Of course I'm not happy at work. Who could be happy in a job where all you do all day long is listen to people complain? I try to relax at home, but all I can think about when I'm home is that I'll have to go back to work soon. My wife and kids try to get me to have fun with them on the weekends, but it's hard. I try to eat healthy and do exercise because it's good for me. But with all the stress in my life, I don't know that diet and exercise will help at all.
Speaker 2.
I really love pizza, cakes, chocolate, sodas, and everything that is bad for me. I sometimes try to eat fruit and veggies, but I really don't like them. I occasionally do exercise. I walk the dog for 30 minutes every day, and sometimes I go to the gym with my husband. But to be honest, I don't go very often. I work as a real estate agent and love my job. I have lots of friends, and I love to spend time with them when I can. My husband and I have a great relationship and try to spend as much time as we can doing things together.
Speaker 3.
My motto in life is everything in moderation. I think that there is time for fun, time to spend with family and friends, and time to take care of yourself. I try to eat healthy most of the week, and I give myself permission to eat less healthy on weekends or special occasions. I occasionally have a few drinks or some wine if we go out. I try to get to the gym about 4 to 5 times a week and do exercise to stay in shape, but I'm not obsessed with doing exercise. Most days, I enjoy spending time doing things with my kids or my husband and doing things with friends or family.
Speaker 4.
I am obsessive about my weight. I do at least 1-2 hours of exercise a day, and I always watch what I eat. I make sure that my wife prepares healthy meals every day. I try to eat red meat only once a week, and the other days I eat either fish, seafood, or vegetarian meals. I never drink alcohol or smoke, and I don't drink soda or any other sugary beverage. I visit the doctor at least once a year for a checkup, and I have my blood pressure, glucose, and cholesterol checked every 6 months. Staying healthy is more important to me than having fun. Besides, how can you have fun if you're not healthy?
Unit 6. Practice 2.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Shorter, and with us today on our show we have Marla Davis from the Department of Education and Don Rees from Trend Education. We're going to be talking about what education will look like in the future. Welcome, Marla and Don.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
So, my first question to both of you is, do you really think education will change a lot in the next 20 to 50 years?
I think that there will be some changes, but basic education will stay the same. Children still need to learn to read and write and do basic math, and they will need teachers to teach them. Most parents don't have the time to be able to spend hours a day teaching their children, so we will always need teachers.
I agree that we will need teachers, but their job will be different. Most of what children do will be done on a computer or some other electronic device. Most of the classes will be virtual classes, and the teacher will be in there to clear up questions, give assistance, and be responsible for making sure the kids are doing the work. She'll provide additional activities for students to work on.
So, what you're describing is something like a babysitter, not really a teacher.
Not at all. The teacher will still give general guidelines as to what each student needs to learn, but kids will decide how fast or slow they want to advance and what additional activities they'd like to do online or outside of class. The teacher won't be the person making all the decisions or be the person with all the answers. Students will have the power to discover the answers on their own.
I don't agree with your vision of a teacher in the future. I agree that there will be more use of technology in the classroom and that kids will probably have all of their books and materials on a device rather than have real books and notebooks. However, the role of the teacher will still be teaching. No online course or program can replace a human being. Material that is online will be used to supplement what kids do in class, but not replace the teacher.
So, Marla, you feel that the teacher will still be the person providing the information, while Don, you feel that students will be responsible for discovering the information on their own, right?
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. When kids are given the power to choose what they want to learn about and how they want to learn it, they become engaged in learning. That is what we want education to be in the future, engaging.
I agree that we want education to be engaging, and that's exactly what a good teacher does. She engages her students.
True, but there are a lot of teachers out there that aren't engaging their students. If they were, all students would be doing very well in school, but this is just not what's happening. Look at how many kids drop out of school each year. Look at how many kids graduate from high school who can barely read and write. The way education is now just isn't working.
That may be true, but if you let students be responsible for what and how they want to learn, they won't have a balanced education. They'll probably spend all their time playing on the internet or in social media. They need a teacher to be there to teach them, guide them, and make sure they are working.
The teacher will guide them, but in a very different manner. Depending on what each student is interested in, it will be the teacher's job to give each student a variety of paths to take in order to learn more and make sure that what they are learning is balanced.
Unit 6, Activity 2.
Where do you want to go on vacation this year? Miami, Vail, Corpus Christi?
Why don't we go someplace different? We always go to the beach or to the mountains. I want to do something new.
Like what?
Well, last week I was reading this article about some of the most interesting holidays in the world, and some of them sound amazing.
But that means we'd have to travel to another country. We've never traveled outside this country. I think it would be too hard. What if we go someplace they don't speak English? How would we communicate or get around?
Charles, you're so apprehensive. We could take a tour with others from here, and then I'm sure they'd have an interpreter, and they'd help us with everything.
I don't know. What place do you have in mind?
Well, I was thinking about going to Thailand. They have the Yipeng Lantern Festival that is incredible. Also, there are many things we could do there. They have beautiful beaches. There are many ancient ruins, historical buildings, many incredible national parks, lakes, mountains, and so on. It would be the vacation of a lifetime.
I don't know. It sounds pretty exotic to me. Besides, we don't know Chinese or Japanese or Thailandese or whatever language they speak there.
They speak Thai. That's the name of their language. And like I said before, we can take a guided tour where they will give us an interpreter.
What other places had you thought about?
Well, what about Brazil? We could go to the carnival there. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it, all the people dancing in the streets and celebrating.
Isn't that like Mardi Gras in New Orleans? We went there once, many years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we visited New Orleans about 10 years ago, so carnival is really the same thing as Mardi Gras. It's a celebration that happens prior to Lent and Easter. However, the celebration in Brazil is probably the biggest and most famous.
Well, I have seen some of the dancers on TV before. Those women are beautiful.
Oh, so now you're interested. Anyway, there are other things we can do in Brazil too. We can visit the Amazon jungle, go to some of the historical World Heritage sites, go to some of the amazing beaches they have, visit the Pantanal wetlands, go to the Iguazu Falls, and of course, enjoy carnival.
And in Brazil they speak Spanish, don't they? I know a little Spanish.
Charles, they speak Portuguese in Brazil, not Spanish.
Oh. Anyway, it seems you've been thinking about this a lot. You know, I'm not very adventurous, but if you can find a 2-week package that isn't too strenuous and where we can be on a guided tour, we can go.
Great! I'm going to go online to see what I can find right now.
Hola, buen día. Primero que nada, gracias por estar viendo este video, por tu tiempo, esta video presentación. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, asesor financiero con 10 años de carrera bancaria. Actualmente me especializo en el área de divisas, tipo de cambio, ofreciendo lo que son estrategias, herramientas y servicios para optimizar esos ejercicios, esas operaciones. ¿Cómo? Con posturas, órdenes en mercado, un sistema que se queda trabajando 5 días de la semana, los 24 horas que el mercado está activo. Análisis técnico, básicamente la verificación de gráfico para sacar tendencias, soportes y resistencias, ver probabilidades y pronósticos. Y administración de riesgos para administrar lo que es a un lapso de tiempo, proteger la tesorería de la empresa por la volatilidad de precios. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, gracias por mirar este video. Saludos.